Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another day of Shadows Over Innistrad spoilers. So tomorrow will be our last spoiler video, and then starting on Friday, we'll begin the full set review, starting with all the white cards, and throughout the course of the week, we will plug through the whole set, get you prepared for that pre-release a week from Friday. So, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, definitely a good time to do so. We got a lot of good content coming up, including a pre-release primer. So having said that, let's move on to the new stuff for today. And the first card we're going to look at is actually part of a cycle. So you may remember a couple days ago, we saw a card called Vessel of Volatility, and it was a red card. Well, it turns out that was part of this cycle, and we're going to see the other four cards now. And this one is called Vessel of Ephemera. It's 1 white, 1 generic, enchantment. You pay a white and 2, sacrifice it, and you get 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield. So, I really miss Lingering Souls. I know Lingering Souls was too good, but this makes me really miss it. So I'm spending 2 white and 3 for 2 spirit tokens. Okay, that's fine and limited, and I'd probably run this in a lot of limited decks. And there is some synergy with spirits, and I'm sure there's more stuff we haven't seen yet. But I don't know if it's quite economical enough, I guess, for standard constructed. But definitely a cool limited card. I'm fine with it there. Next is Vessel of Paramnesia. Costs 1 blue, 1 generic. It's an enchantment. Pay a blue, sack it. Target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Draw a card. One thing about the vessels in general are they do help you get Delirium. Enchantments are probably sort of hard to get into your graveyard, so these all allow a venue to get an enchantment into your graveyard. Now, on top of that, this one in particular allows you to get even more cards into your graveyard and even cantrips. So this one's got a lot of value, and it only costs 2 to put down on the battlefield and then 1 to sacrifice it. Yeah, I'm happy with this. It reminds me a little bit of Forbidden Alchemy. Maybe it's not quite as good as that card was in the original Innistrad, but I think it's going to serve a lot of the same purpose. And that card did see some standard play. I think this could see some standard play in the right deck where it's trying to get stuff into the graveyard, and it's going to be good for you in limited as well. Limited, it will serve a couple purposes. One, to help you with Delirium and other sort of graveyard shenanigans, but this also could be drafted if you're trying to draft the mill deck, which seems like a thing, and this will be at common, so there'll be plenty of these going around in a draft. So we have Vessel of Malignity. Costs 1 black, 1 generic. It's an enchantment. Pay a black and 1. Sacrifice it. Target opponent exiles 2 cards from his or her hand. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. So it seems like this is the going cost now for getting 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. Now, granted, this is exile and not sent to the graveyard, so that's a good thing. You wouldn't want to probably do that in this format, so that's good. And the fact that you are getting a little bit of advantage just in the fact that you can kind of pay this out on the installment plan, that's also upside. So there you have it. It's fine and limited. It's not going to be for every limited deck. If you're playing like the black-red aggressive deck, for example, you probably don't want this clogging up your hand. You just want to put some more fast creatures out or maybe some more burn spells. But if you're playing a slower, more methodical controlling game, maybe you're in blue-black, something like that, this will work in those limited decks. I think it's a little too pricey for what it does in standard, but it will be fine for you in certain limited builds. And last one of the cycle is Vessel of Nascency. It's a green enchantment. Pay a green and 1, sacrifice it, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. So much like the blue vessel, I think this will see some constructed play in standard, maybe even modern. I think it's really maybe the most pushed one. So you just pay 1 green and then 2 to activate it. And at that point, you get to select the best card out of the top 4 of your deck, and everything else goes to the graveyard. So much like the blue vessel, it's helping fuel graveyard strategies, Delirium, stuff like that. And I think because of that, this one will be quite strong. And this will be very good for you in limited too. Alright, now we're back to aggressive cards. Scourge Wolf, 2 red. It's a wolf for 2/2 first strike, and if you have Delirium, it has double strike. Another great red aggressive card. That seems to be the theme of this set, is just a lot of cheap, aggressive red creatures that are going to keep coming at you. This is another one. Could find its way into standard because it's just that strong and that cheap of a card, and it's going to be fantastic for you in limited. Even if you never get Delirium, a 2/2 for a striker for 2 is still very strong. It's a little annoying that it costs 2 red, but that's not the end of the world. Maybe it comes out on turn 3 instead of turn 2, but it's still going to be good for you. Howlpack Resurgence, a green and 2. It's an enchantment with flash. Each creature you control that's a wolf or a werewolf gets +1/+1 and has trample. So notice the flash on this one. It basically works as a combat trick, which is actually kind of awesome. Now, talking about standard constructed, I did say a couple videos ago, I haven't seen all the pieces yet to make me feel real warm and fuzzy about the werewolves or wolves playing a big role in standard. But if there's more cards like this coming, then they still have a shot. What they really need is something that's going to help take some of the variance out of the transformation. Now, if a card like that comes out, then it's a whole different ballgame. For right now, though, I'll say this will be good for you in Limited if you can get enough wolves and werewolves together, which I don't think will be super hard to do, especially in draft. And I think this will be a fun commander card, too, if you are building a wolves/werewolf type commander deck. Next card was spoiled from a French language spoiler, and loosely translated, I think it's inexorable Masse, costs a green and 2. It's an ooze creature, 3/3, and if you have Delirium, then whenever this attacks, you get to put a 3/3 green ooze creature token on the battlefield, tapped and attacking. As far as standard goes, this card wants to be played with Collected Company. So, because Collected Company is kind of a big deal, I could see this getting in there for some standard play. This might even make some modern play, considering Collected Company is a thing there. Now, maybe there's better targets in modern, I don't know, but this seems like something that wants to play with that card quite a bit. Also, it's going to be great for you in Limited. Still paying 3 for a 3/3 is very good, and if you do happen to hit Delirium, this card becomes excellent. So watch for this to get a fair amount of play for sure in a number of formats. Next we have a mythic. It's the Gitrog Monster. Cost a green, a black, and 3. It's a legendary frog horror, 6/6, Death Touch. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice the Gitrog Monster unless you sacrifice a land. You may play an additional land on each of your turns, and whenever one or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. I love the card advantage you can get off this with lands going to the graveyard. That's actually pretty interesting. And they are going to the graveyard from anywhere. You get to draw a card. So this card's unique. You don't see stuff like that very often. As far as standard goes, I don't know. It's a little costly, I think, and there might be a little too much variance in it. It seems like it could be a powerful card draw engine if you're able to really manipulate it, but you might not have the time to set that up or the tools to set that up in standard, if that makes sense. I think it's going to be great in Limited, obviously. I think that's kind of goes without saying. This will be awesome in Commander as well. I think you could probably pull off some crazy stuff with this in Commander if you really sat down and thought about it. And it is a legendary creature, so it can be your Commander. I guess I'm just kind of waiting to see what people do with this card. I mean, obviously it plays well with things like Crucible of Worlds, but I just am, I don't know, I'm very intrigued by the whole if one or more land cards are put in the graveyard from anywhere. Now, granted, if multiple land cards go into your graveyard, then you only still draw a card, so it's not super great. But if there's some way to maybe slowly move lands into your graveyard, you could get a whole lot of card advantage off this. I don't know. Maybe like with Zuran Orb or something like that. It feels like maybe it could be a really cool cube card because of its interaction with lands. So I guess we'll see on this one, but I think it's going to find play in maybe a variety of different places. Finally, our last card of the day is Prized Amalgam, and this costs a black, a blue, and 1. It's a zombie, 3/3, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield, if it entered from your graveyard or you cast it from your graveyard, return Prized Amalgam from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped at the beginning of the next end step. So what do we love? Things that are free to cast, and under certain circumstances this is free to cast. You mill it or you use one of these card selection spells that pushes it into your graveyard, and next thing you know, combine it with another ability and this thing gets to come into the battlefield for free. And even if it doesn't, a 3/3 for 3 is still very economical and very good. So this will be fantastic and Limited. I think this is going to play really well with a lot of the cards in the set, even a lot we haven't seen yet, and because of that, potentially I think you could see some standard play as well. So that was the last card of today, and let me tell you, we saw some good ones today and some intriguing ones, and I somehow was able to pronounce all of these names. This is maybe the hardest day of spoilers I ever had for name pronunciations, but I think I did pretty good. So having said that, we'll be back tomorrow with another spoiler video, and we'll be back on Friday with the first part of our set review. So until then, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day.
Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video, like all my videos, was made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Even a donation of $1 helps me to keep growing this community and creating better quality videos for all of you. Check out our Patreon page for exclusive giveaways and future goals for the channel. If you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, product openings, or finance videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon and have a good day.